Hi, everyone. I am Marcia Dawood. I'm happy to be here today to talk about investing with Philanthropic Capital. We're going to go through all about that and what that means. And I am here with Patrice and Leah Brickman of Inspire Access. You're going to hear a lot about Inspire Access and how that was working. And then, of course, we are going to hear from the amazing Cindy Gallop and everything about Make Love Not Porn and Make Love Not Porn Academy. So the important work that Cindy is doing is so amazing, and I am really excited to be here to talk about how we can all help her. So let me just tell you a little bit about my background. I became an angel investor about 12 years ago, and I remember going to my first meeting and thinking, what is angel investing? I had really no idea. But I come to find out that anybody who wants to use their after-tax dollars can do so in order to invest in an early stage company. And there's a lot of ways to do that. Back in the day, though, you did pretty much have to be rich, well-connected, and there are a lot of myths still to this day about it. But what really got me was when I found out how little funding goes to women and people of color. And I just thought, that's crazy. Only 2% goes to women, less than 1% goes to people of color. Like, how is that even possible? Because women, they are like 50% of the population. You can't tell me they only have 2% of the good ideas. That's not even possible. So I've thought, well, there has to be a better way. Like, why is this happening? Well, we need more people to be investors and to be helpers for these companies that actually look like the people that we want to back. So in 2021, I started a podcast called The Angel Next Door. And I was just trying to showcase what people were doing related to investing in early stage companies and how everybody could be a part of it if they wanted to. Also talked about things like equity crowdfunding. We're going to talk about that in a little bit toward the end of the webinar here. But really a lot of different ways that people can get involved that aren't necessarily a traditional investing pathway. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. In 2022, I did a TEDx talk talking about this. And then in 2024, my book, Do Good While Doing Well, came out, and it is all about the different pathways that you could be an investor in the change that you want to see in the world. So a couple of months ago, I met Cindy and I learned about the good work that she is doing. And I thought, oh my goodness, you have had this amazing company that you've been building, but yet it's so incredibly hard to get funding. And maybe one of the ways that we could do that would be to have a program where people could donate and then be able to help Cindy's company. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I'm going to pull up a couple of slides real quick before I introduce the other speakers. And there we go. So investing with philanthropic capital is what we're going to be talking about today. And so sometimes I talk to people and they say, philanthropic capital, like what exactly does that mean? So when I say philanthropic dollars or philanthropic capital, because we are going to be talking a lot about that today, it's basically simply the donations of money or other resources, because it could be things like appreciated stock that would be made to a charitable cause. Pretty simple. Pretty much we all have made some type of a donation, probably either to maybe the American Heart Association or the Cancer Society or our alma mater or our kids' school, or something like that. And so that's basically what we're talking about. Pretty simple, philanthropic capital. So when we're talking about investing with philanthropic capital, I wanted to just show a little bit of a flow chart so you can get in your mind, what does it mean to invest with these philanthropic dollars? So here is the donor, that would be you or me. And then there's an entity, and the entity then either invests or grants into the for-profit company. So pretty simple, and that's what we're going to be talking a lot about today. An entity, though, what does that mean? Well, that basically can be either a donor advised fund. So in the chat, if anybody has a donor advised fund, please just hit yes. Just say yes in the chat if you have a donor advised fund. Basically, what a donor advised fund is, it's a little bit like a checkbook, like a charity checkbook. You put money into a donor advised fund and you get your tax deduction. And then you could use that money to make charitable contributions either right away, or that money could sit there for a longer period of time. It does grow tax-free. And then it can be used to make future grants later on. Or the entity, if you remember from the last slide, could be Inspire Access. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So Inspire Access is a for-profit company, a 501c3, a charity that was created to invest or grant philanthropic dollars to for-profit companies run by underrepresented founders. Now, we did have a podcast episode from the Angel Next Door about a year ago where Patrice and Leah Brickman came on to our podcast, and they were able to tell us all about Inspire Access. So I'm going to right now introduce Leah and Patrice. And before I do that, I just want to mention that Tiffany's going to put in the chat about the donations that can happen today. The donations will go through Inspire Access, and we're going to get into more detail about this in a little bit, but they'll go through Inspire Access and they'll be granted into the Make Love Not Porn company. Minimum, or I should say the donations start at $5,000. So Tiffany will be putting that link in the chat if anybody's interested or has to leave early. And then we will, of course, be following up and talking more about this as you hear from Patrice, Leah, and Cindy. So I will turn it over to Leah and Patrice right now.
Awesome. Well, Marsha and Cindy, thank you so much for having us on today. We're so excited to be joining you and to be partnering with Cindy and Make Love Not Porn to provide and funnel some very important capital. And so I'll start by sharing, Marsha shared, but Inspire Access is a 501c3 nonprofit that has been built to allow individuals to direct their philanthropic capital towards investments and grants for profit entities, both companies and funds. And individuals can make a donation from their donor advised fund, as she mentioned, their private foundation, or just a tax deductible donation. And we're able to funnel these funds to for-profit entities, really led by founders who have a harder time accessing capital. And so we are excited to be, again, partnered with Make Love Not Porn. And I will actually be passing it over to my mom and co-founder, Patrice Brickman, to share a bit more about why we built this organization.
Thank you. Thank you, Leah. And Marsha, thank you for pulling all this together. We've been fans of Cindy's and of yours for quite some time now. In 2021, I ran across a company that had a donor advised fund on their cap table. And at the same time, learned what Marsha described earlier, that less than 2% of all venture was going to underrepresented founders, and thought, well, that's a big problem. And there was $143 billion sitting in donor advised fund in the US at that time. And I thought, well, that's a real opportunity. There's a real dollars, and we could possibly move the needle on some of these statistics. Today, there's $250 billion sitting, what I'll call complacently, in donor advised funds. So there is an enormous opportunity to fund, in my opinion, the most innovative leaders with the most promising solutions, i.e. Cindy Gallop, who is truly disrupting and solving for a real issue in our world, and in a very concrete way. So it is a privilege, a true privilege, to do this work and fund inspirational leaders like you. So thank you. Oh, Marsha, I think you might be muted.
Myself, rookie mistake. Yes, thank you, Patrice and Leah, for telling us more about that. And Cindy, I'm going to go ahead and introduce you and have you tell us all about the last 16 years of your life that you have been doing this incredible work, and just the struggles that you've had, but just the amazing success that you have brought this incredible company to life, and now soon the Academy. So please tell us everything.
Thank you so much, Marsha. Everyone, I'm thrilled to be here with you, and I am so happy to be working with Marsha and Patrice and Leah on this initiative, because I have to tell you, I've been fighting a battle every day for the past 16 years to not even to grow Make Love Not Porn, but just to keep it going. I'm going to talk to you about what Make Love Not Porn is, what our mission is, and then what we are specifically raising funding for. in terms of an expansion of Make Love Not Porn that is desperately needed in the world today. I started Make Love Not Porn because I date younger men. And 17 years ago, long before anybody else identified this issue, I realized through my own personal experience that when we don't talk openly and honestly about sex, porn becomes sex education by default in not a good way. I'm a naturally action-oriented person. I went, right, I'm going to do something about this. And 16 years ago, purely as a side venture, I put up a tiny clunky website at MakeLoveNotPorn.com that in its original form was a public service announcement. Porn world versus real world. Here's what happens in the porn world. Here's what really happens in the real world. I launched Make Love Not Porn at TED in 2009. I have a mildly notorious TED talk that you might like to look up on TED.com. It's only 4 minutes long. It went viral, and the entire world responded in a way that I have never anticipated. Thousands of people wrote to me from all around the world, and I realized I'd uncovered a huge global social issue. And so I turned Make Love Not Porn into a business designed to do good and make money simultaneously, which is what I would like the future of all business to be ultimately. I turned it into what it is today, which is the world's first and only user-generated, importantly 100% human-curated, social sex video sharing platform. So like what Facebook would be if it allowed you to openly, healthily, socially, sexually self-express, which it clearly does not. The way to think about us is, if porn is the Hollywood blockbuster movie, Make Love Not Porn is the badly needed documentary. We are a unique window onto the funny, messy, loving, wonderful sex in the real world. And what we are doing is we are socializing, normalizing, and destigmatizing sex, bringing it out of the shadows into the sunlight to promote consent, communication, good sexual values behavior. We are literally sex education through real-world demonstration. We have a revenue share business model that I concepted 16 years ago, long before OnlyFans. Our members pay to subscribe, rent, and stream our real-world sex videos. Half that revenue goes to our contributors, who we call our Make Love Not Porn stars. And as a unique business, Make Love Not Porn has a unique capability. We have the power to change people's sexual attitudes and behavior for the better in a way that nothing else can. In the 12 years we've operated as a business, we've taught countless young people that porn is not sex in the real world. Gen Z loves us. We've saved numerous marriages and relationships. As literally people write to us, you saved my marriage. We've inspired communications breakthroughs around sex for couples. Parents are buying their teenage children's subscriptions to Make Love Not Porn. They tell us, I want my kids to see what happy, healthy, loving sex relationships actually look like. And as with any disruptive technology, use cases emerge that the founder never dreamt of. So I was blown away when we began hearing from survivors of rape, sexual assault, sexual abuse. They tell us that Make Love Not Porn helped them reclaim their bodies. We help them feel able to be sexual again post-trauma in a situation where porn is too triggering. And it's not just people who watch our videos. Some of our Make Love Not Porn stars tell us being able to share themselves sexually in a completely safe and trustworthy space has helped them process and heal from sexual trauma. That's not a use case I ever consciously envisaged. I'm so happy it is. And ultimately, our mission at Make Love Not Porn, and unfortunately this could not be more relevant today, our mission is to help end rape culture globally. Now that may sound like a very big mission, but we have 12 years of proof of concept at a micro level. We help end rape culture by doing something very simple that nobody else is doing. We end rape culture by showing you how wonderful great consensual communicative sex is in the real world. Our social sex videos role model good sexual values and good sexual behavior. And here's the key part. We make all of that aspirational versus what in porn and popular culture. One man left a comment saying, "This video makes me want to be a better man in the bedroom and in life." We can do that. Now, as I mentioned, I fought a battle together with my tiny team every day for the past 16 years because every piece of business infrastructure other tech startups take for granted, we can't. The small print always says no adult content. And that especially applies to funding and investment. So I have had a product in the pipeline for 10 years. And I conceived this product because parents and teachers began writing to me from day one of Make Love Not Porn, begging me for it. And it's been in the pipeline for 10 years because I've tried to raise funding and failed. And that product is MakeLoveNotPorn.academy, the 0 to 18 and beyond sex education expansion of what we do. I characterize this as the Khan Academy of sex education, because Khan Academy tutors on every other topic under the sun except this one. Education technology, edtech, is exploding as a sector, not in this area. And so we want to build MakeLoveNotPorn.academy basically with the mission of organizing the world's sex education information to make it universally accessible and useful. That is a deliberate paraphrase of Google's original mission statement: organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful, because they're not. Today, the algorithm is biased, it is censoring, and open, healthy sex education is being blocked, censored, and deplatformed everywhere. And so I designed MakeLoveNotPorn.academy to be an aggregator hub for the best of the world's sex education content. Because in the 16 years I've worked on Make Love Not Porn, I've built up a huge network of sex educator friends all around the world doing brilliant work. They face all the same challenges I do. Their content gets blocked on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Their accounts get suspended. They're banned from promoting themselves and advertising themselves. And what they do could not be more necessary now than ever before. The way Make Love Not Porn Academy is designed to work is on the same principles as Make Love Not Porn: user-generated, crowdsourced, curated revenue share. But the way it works is we are inviting educators to share with us their own content, coursework materials, books, videos, comic strips, whatever it may be. And I use the term educator very broadly. Educators, sexual health and wellness experts, therapists, health professionals, podcasters, anybody informing and educating in this entire area. Now, we will curate all this content because at Make Love Not Porn, we operate a unique model that I call the human curation layer on top of the internet. I designed Make Love Not Porn through the female lens to be the safest place on the internet. There is no self-publishing of anything. On Make Love Not Porn currently, our curators watch every video submitted from beginning to end before we approve or reject and we publish it. We review every post on every member profile, every comment on every video before we approve or reject and publish it. And by the way, we are tiny bootstrapping, have no money, and we've human curated everything for 12 years. Imagine what Meta, TikTok, et al. Could do with their billions if they chose to. I can tell you that safety on the internet is not a matter of viability, it's simply a matter of will. And our curation criteria for Make Love Not Porn are very broad. Your video has to be legal, consensual, and real. Beyond that, anything goes. We exist to celebrate the full broad spectrum of human sexuality. Equally with Make Love Not Porn Academy, our curation criteria for educational content will be, it must be educational, fact-based, and non-judgmental. And then beyond that, anything goes. And so we're going to aggregate all this content, and we're then going to make it easily searchable by age appropriateness. So if you're a parent freaking out going, oh my God, my 6-year-old just asked me this, what do I say? We will give you the tools and content with which to be able to have that conversation with a 6-year-old. If you're a teacher with a class of 14-year-olds, here are your age-appropriate teacher materials. We'll have a vast range of curricula, lesson plans. There are all sorts of programs out there that not enough schools around the world know about that are doing great work in classrooms. If you're an adult, access all areas. Adults are equally desperate for all this education information. But very importantly, the academy will be where children and young people can access sex education without parental teacher gatekeeping. And this is why this is so important. I have a friend who's a mother, and as you have to these days, she monitors her kids' browsing history. This happened a few years ago. Her son was 8 years old, and she saw to her horror that on the family computer, he had Googled sex for children. So she freaked out, but did the right thing, stayed calm, sat him down. Darling, I have to see that you were talk me through why. This anecdote is adorable and horrifying in equal measure because her son wanted to learn about sex. He was a child. He knew he was a child. He wanted to learn about sex in a child-appropriate way. He sweetly, innocently Googled sex for children. You can imagine the kind of thing that came back utterly traumatized. And so the academy will be where an 8-year-old boy can enter his age on the homepage, and we will only serve him age-appropriate educational content. And the really important thing here is that when I use the term sex education about dating, about relationships, about love, about how to deal with all of that in the modern world, because at the moment, we are seeing all sorts of freedoms being rolled back as we speak, including the female lens on everything. And in a world where Andrew Tate is currently being championed, celebrated, funded, enabled to generate a ton of revenue, I and Make Love Not Porn are the antithesis of Andrew Tate. For 12 years, we've helped boys and men be transformed by the power of love, intimacy, and human connection. We've helped girls and women find their own sexual agency. We want to take our mission to help end rape culture globally as far upstream as possible and give parents the help they need to begin these conversations in their own homes and be able to teach children and young people that there is a different way of living and interacting with each other. And the last thing I'll say on this is, with MakeLoveNotPorn.academy, I am out to prove concept. And what I mean by that is, for years people said to me, oh, Cindy, you should go to schools. Make Love Porn should be on the curriculum. And I've always said, no, I shouldn't. Because anyone trying to bring sex ed into schools comes up against parent-teacher association, moral panic. But here's the thing. The people keeping sex ed out of schools, they don't know what to be like if they're allowed it in. They're just really bad. In their heads, they have this abstract concept of Sodom and Gomorrah will ensue. When I am able to build and launch the academy, and when I can show you what doesn't exist anywhere, the best of the world's sex education content all in one place, and you can see for yourself at a glance how brilliant, informative, educational, healthy, and non-threatening it is, when you can search it, as I said, by age appropriateness, by cultural sensibility, because we will have Christian sex ed, Jewish sex ed, Muslim sex ed, and importantly, you can pick and choose by personal comfort level. We just present all of this. We are the Google of sex ed. You decide what's right for your family, your classroom, your school. That is when I believe I can help get sex ed into schools. I want to build the academy outside the system to be able to get it into the system. So that's the vision for the academy. As I say, parents have been asking for this for 16 years, as have teachers in schools. So there is no doubt that it's very badly needed, more so today than ever before. And that is what I would love all of you or anybody in your network that you can bring this to donate to actually make happen. Thank you very much.
Excellent, Cindy. Good job. Good job. Yes. All right. I'm just going to go through a couple of the last slides just so that everybody has a good understanding of how this all works now. So earlier we saw that there was a donor, entity, and then the company, the for-profit company. So how this is going to work is there's a donor. The donor then donates to Inspire Access. From Inspire Access, there's a grant into Cindy's company, Make Love Not Porn, Make Love Not Porn Academy. And then that is all just simple as making a donation to any other 501c3 charity where you get a tax deduction as soon as you do. And there are some perks. So anyone that donates $10,000 will get early access to the Make Love Not Porn Academy. $25,000, Cindy will speak to either your group in New York or over Zoom. And a $50,000 donation, Cindy will amplify your social media. She does have a lot of followers. She would be able to do that. So there are some perks, a little bit like the WeFunder campaign. So maybe for a minute, Cindy, you can tell us a tiny bit about that.
Sure. Yep. Thanks, Marsha. And by the way, just to add some detail to this, anyone who donates $10,000 will get early access to the Academy, and we will welcome your feedback. We'd love you to help shape, how we build out the Academy, because we will welcome real world feedback from people who are testing it for real. So we really welcome agendas at that level. For $25,000, I'll be happy to give a talk, a presentation, and that can be about anything you want. It can be in a professional capacity for your company, or it can be, as I did just a few weeks ago, it could be to a group of your teenage children and their friends. I spoke to the Greenwich, Connecticut chapter of the National League of Young Men a few weekends ago, which was 50 high school boys between the ages of 14 and 18. And I have to tell you, it went brilliantly well. The mothers left me to it with their sons. We had a phenomenal Q&A session once they realized they could relax and really just ask me anything. And I will just say, by the way, that they were adorable. The questions were absolutely born out of teenage boy insecurity about how do I get to be good in bed? What do girls really like? And I was so happy to have the chance to have that conversation with them because, as I say, I Make Love Not Porn are trying to get as far upstream of people like Andrew Tate as possible. I will speak to any group that you would like to convene in any context. And then for $50,000, I will amplify whatever you would amplify. So if you have a particular cause yourself, or if you have an event, or if you have something you're doing, I'll be happy to promote that across all of my social channels and help achieve whatever your goals with that may be. As Marsha mentioned, we do also simultaneously have a WeFunder equity crowdfunding campaign running. So that is at wefunder.com/MakeLoveNotPorn. And that is specifically an SEC-approved investment campaign. Investments start at $100, and then there are a series of perks for different levels that are different from these perks. And we welcome anybody who would like to invest to go to WeFund and do so. But I'm especially pleased to partner with Inspire Access because, as Marsha was indicating, sometimes the idea of investing can sound a bit too complicated for people. And what is wonderful about this initiative with Inspire Access is that this is literally just donating the way you donate to any good cause, simply and easily. So you have a choice of vehicles. But I think what's really powerful about Inspire Access is that it's one click away, like every donation you make is one click away. And I would love as many of you as possible and as many of your network as possible to donate via the Inspire Access link, starting at $5,000, going up in increments of 5,000. And I would absolutely love you to help finally make Love Not Porn Academy happen in a way that I think can really resist and counter a lot of the very negative dynamics we're seeing around us right now for everybody's children and for all of us as well. I'm just so very happy to be here with you all, partner with Marsha and Patrice and Leah, and please donate whatever you can, and please spread the word to get everyone you know to donate whatever they can. Thank you very much.
And Cindy, one thing I wanted to make sure people knew is if they wanted their donation to be directed specifically to the Academy, that's possible, right?
Absolutely. You can decide donations generally go to Make Love Not Porn and the Academy. But if you feel, for whatever reason, that you would like your donations just to go to the Academy, then you can absolutely indicate that. And we will specifically put your funds to the Academy. And also, it's probably worth saying, just because I'm aware that this may be preferred, donations are completely anonymous unless you would like them not to be. And for people who, for whatever reason, might prefer it not to be known that they support Make Love Not Porn. And honestly, I've absolutely come across this in the past and understand it. Our primary investor at Make Love Not Porn operates in the financial world. He asked to be anonymous. Your donation is anonymous unless you would like it not to be.
Excellent. So we have a QR code here that goes to a landing page that has every link imaginable is all there. I know Tiffany's been putting a lot of the links in the chat. We will be sending out the recording of this, along with all the information that you can use yourself, you can forward to your network. This is something that I know I've been talking about for a long time. I've talked about, hey, you can use philanthropic capital to invest in a for-profit company. I write about it in my book. I talk about it on my podcast. I actually have a podcast episode called Investing with Philanthropic Capital Explained in 7 Minutes. So really trying to get this out there. But I have never done the simple thing of saying, well, here's a place you can donate. Like, I talk about it a lot, but that's all theory. Let's put it into action. So when I found out what Cindy was doing and thought, you know what, this all just makes a ton of sense. So that's how this has all evolved. These are the things that I know that I care about. And I've talked to so many people who have told me investing in general just is not my thing, especially women. They just say, I don't really know that much about it. I would have to take a long time to figure it out. I would have to really diligence the company, and that would something I don't really know I'd want to do or have the time for. This is just a simple and easy way to do the things that we do pretty often, which is donate to charity, except in this case, it's going to benefit a for-profit company, and that's Cindy's.
And so, just to build on that, Marcia, I'm also thrilled to be doing this because if we can make this work for me and Make Love Not Porn, I think that can be a real breakthrough for other underrepresented founders. Because to your point, there is staggeringly low awareness that this is possible. And we want to bring many more donors to Inspire Access to make this work for all of those of us who, I have to say, in the face of the anti-DEI backlash that is happening right now, it is actually harder and harder for underrepresented founders to raise funding. Erin Griff of the New York Times reported on the fundraising climate in Silicon Valley a while back, where male VCs now feel able to say, as one said to a female founder, "Oh, I don't invest in women," and it's fine to actually have that attitude and that policy. And so, if we can make this work for me and Make Love Not Porn, I think it'll be a fantastic case study to be able to drive awareness and be able to bring many more donors to Inspire Access, to invest in many more underrepresented founders with for-profit social impact ventures like mine that are designed to change the world at enormous scale. The only thing holding us back is lack of access to funding. And so this is an absolute godsend in that respect. And as I say, I want it to work not just for me, but for everybody else as well.
Cindy and Marcia, piggyback onto the point that Cindy was just made, but the reason that we are allowed to do this work, the reason that Inspire is able to be in this field and invest the way we are, is because at some point, and I think I'm going back 15 to 17 years ago, the government realized that in some cases, a for-profit company is solving for a social good in a way that a nonprofit company is not able to. And so we are going to allow people to use their philanthropic capital and make a donation that can be invested in a for-profit company, because the for-profit company is solving for a problem in a better way. And Cindy, you're a perfect example of doing just that. And that's one of the reasons that we're able to do this. So where people can make direct donations and invest in donations with their private capital, but they can also use tax advantaged capital that has already been earmarked for charity and now able to fund a real social good. So that is sustainable.
Right. And that we do have the ability, or Inspire Access has the ability, to take cash through wire. They could take a check. There's a link that you can use a credit card. I personally made my donation with appreciated stock. So that's another kind of cool thing to do. And it actually does help with the whole tax capital gains thing. We could have a whole other webinar on that, but we're not going to talk about that today. But that's another way that people can donate.
Melissa, how much in total do you want to raise? Great question. The answer is, honestly, as much as is humanly possible. Seriously, I would like to set a record with what comes out of this initiative and call to action. So I will be straightforward and say that at the moment, what we absolutely must raise is what is currently the gap on our WE fund that I'm hoping to fill, which is $600,000. that is what would enable us to have the confidence to know that we can design and build Make Love Not Porn Academy and launch it in a few months' time. And by the way, what we've raised with WeFunder to date has enabled us to already start designing and building the academy. We're in full educator outreach mode at the moment, and we have a ton of amazing educators very excited about partnering with us and being able to showcase their work and sell their products on the academy. So that is in process, but what we need to guarantee that we can absolutely go forward with our timelines as we hope is $600,000. But obviously, if we can exceed, that would be even better. As much as is humanly possible is the answer.
Bobby, I see you got your hand up.
Hi, yes, thank you. I have done philanthropic investment with realized impact. And my question is with Inspire Access, in this case, we're talking about gifts, but is there the capacity to make a philanthropic investment where the returns return to the DAF rather than a philanthropic gift?
Yes, Bobby, there is. In this case, we are doing more of a fiscal sponsorship so that people can make donations to go straight to Cindy. But the answer to your question is yes. And that's something that I'm very happy to talk with you and Cindy about.
That's great.
Yeah. And I love Realize Impact. They're maybe the most similar model to us. They have a broader investment mission. We're more singular, but Matt and I share information and we pass things back and forth often. They're just terrific. So
That's
great.
fantastic. We need all of you.
Go
For everybody. Yeah.
I agree.
It's true. So someone was asking how they can help us spread this message. So over the next few weeks, we will be talking more about this, giving the link, making sure that people know where they can go to make the donation. We will definitely be sending out the recording with all the information. You can pass that along. We will put some things out on social media, and then we will wrap it up by the end of April. Really, this is something that we want to make sure people have the opportunity to be a part of. Cindy, maybe tell us a little bit about the timeline with the Academy. How's that all going to work?
Sure. So the amount that we've raised with our WeFunder has enabled me to hire a brilliant young female designer developer dedicated to designing and building the academy, which, as I mentioned, is in process right now. And at the same time, we are firming up the educators who will be featured as we go out there with a minimum viable product. The game plan is to take the academy live as a bare bones platform so that once it's out there, people can see exactly how it works and it'll be easier to attract support and people to it. It's worth mentioning, by the way, that we also plan to, at Make Love Not Porn, create our own educational products for the academy. And that is because, unfortunately, life today and the state of the internet today has thrown up very cutting edge topical issues that parents and children and schools alike need to be educated on. We are looking at, unfortunately, an absolute torrent of intimate image abuse. That is the preferred term for deep fake porn, which trivializes the nature of that activity, which is ruining the lives of girls and women worldwide. We are looking at sextortion online, which disproportionately affects teenage boys. And we plan to make sure that we have the most cutting edge educational tools available to be able to deal with all of these. We plan to produce some of those ourselves. And so our estimation currently, if we can raise the funding we need, is that we will be able to launch the academy in about 4 to 5 months' time, which actually would be perfect for back to school if we can make that timing happen, to be honest. That's the rough timeline at the moment.
Excellent. Wow, that's fast. That's great. Well, you've been working on it, thinking about it, and getting it all together, right, for a long time.
No, exactly. It's planned. Yeah, I have it always planned out for a long time. And as I say, we were able to hire a dedicated designer and developer at the end of last year, and she's full on with it. And I'm just looking at this question. Yes, we absolutely will be looking for beta testers. As we said, when you donate $10,000, you get early access, and you'll be part of our beta testing group. And also, we would absolutely love educators to bring this to their schools and anybody relevant in due course. I can tell you that I spoke the year before last at a schools conference in the UK where I did the opening keynote and I spoke about the academy, and I was absolutely rushed at the coffee break by teachers going, "Oh my God, is it up now? Can we use it? When can we use it?" So teachers are desperate for a choice of really great lesson plans, materials, curricula. And by the way, part of our human curation model is, I mean it when I say that the academy is aggregating the best of the world's sex education content. We will only be featuring, education that we really endorse as being effective. And yeah, for schools and for teachers, there will be a whole range of different curricula that they'll be able to choose from in terms of what is right for their needs.
That's excellent. Great question. And keep in mind, in order to make all of this happen, we do need money to help Cindy's company. Donations through Inspire Access into a grant that will go directly to Make Love Not Porn and Make Love Not Porn Academy. And if you want to have your donation directed just to the Academy, all right, we'll be sending out all the information with links. Please help us to amplify this, get more people to know about it, and let's get the money that Cindy needs in order to make this happen.